When they come from the sky. Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. And yes, I am unafraid.
Yes. Oops.
Thanks to TJ, Bear Independent. Cool shirts, my favorite now. I want to get several more. I don't go out into town very often just to do like basic shopping, anything we need, stuff like that. What, baby girl?
Also, little unafraid shirt for me.
Yep, we're going to get a little one for her. I hope they make them in that size, in 5-year-old girl size. But yes, I don't go out very often, and so every time I go out, I want to be wearing this shirt. I'm going to get a couple from my buddies, but anyway.
That's good.
Talking about when they come from the sky. But first, I don't know if you guys like it. Don't really care, I guess, but you know, I don't know if you noticed, but yeah, I trimmed the beard. I was trying for that, you know, the big, lush, manly beard thing. It's just not me. Sorry. If I disappoint some of you guys, I don't know. I apologize, but I don't because, you know, I like this. And so, this is back.
Yep.
I'm not saying I won't do it in the future, but anyway. We just had an experience out of my daughter's house. She lives more in town setting, neighborhood. I'd say suburban kind of area, but it's not a city. It's just a town, a smaller town in western Washington. One more time, baby girl, and then don't interrupt so much, okay?
We do not live in the city. We live in the country.
Yes, we live in the country. I wish I was further in the country. But anyway, low population density is important because things like what I'm going to talk about are less likely to happen. We were sitting there, just coming out of her house. We dropped some stuff off for her and heard buzzing. I was thinking RC car or something like that. Look around, there's no RC car. Look up. Drone. Don't know if it was, I couldn't tell, it was pretty high. If it was somebody just flying a drone around the neighborhood. I mean, come on, it's a neighborhood next to a town, so
yeah.
Odds are it was probably just somebody out flying their drone. But what if it wasn't? My wife's like, whoa, there's more. What? She thought I'd have more of a reaction. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I'm in town. You want me to get my, my defensive tool out of the trunk and take it out? I mean, seriously, I'm in a neighborhood. Anyway, what can you do about it? The threat exists, right? Drones are everywhere. Privately owned. Corporations have them. Government has them.
What?
It's a fact of life, especially if you live in an urban setting. You're probably more used to seeing drones. We're not used to seeing drones. If a drone came over my property, then I'd be concerned. Because,
pew, pew, pew.
Really, there aren't that many places around here. What would I do, though? Would I shoot it out of the sky?
Probably.
Depends on the situation. It depends on the threat level. It depends on what is going on at the time, how I would deal with it. Say you're bugging out, or you're out in a rural area, or you're doing tactical operations, high-speed stuff, whatever it is, in a situation. Well, then it could be a threat, right? It could be a reconnaissance drone for opposing forces, for whoever it is that is coming for you, or maybe a threat to you. So that's kind of along the lines I'm going to talk about now. And a lot of this kind of stuff I usually talk about on Patreon. Links in the description below. Hundreds of exclusive content. Awesome stuff there. I mean, come on, it's $1 a month. Join us there. I've talked about this. Gone probably a little more in depth on this. But I haven't talked about this in a long time. So I figured I'd talk about it here just due to our experience tonight. And, it just kind of flew, and then it kind of flew off. It hovered for a little while, and then it flew off, and then it started going down. So it's probably just somebody over there flying a drone, screwing around, having fun. But what if somebody's using a drone against you in a threat type situation? What can you do? Well, there are ways, no matter what technology there is out there, there's a way to defeat technology, every technology. So a lot of times old school beats tech. You can do old school beats tech. I mean, something as simple, if you don't want to be seen, say for example, you have a group of people out in a wooded environment and you hear a drone. Very simple, actually. Even if it has thermal.
What?
Even if it has thermal, you can still evade it. How? Hug a tree. Seriously, become a tree hugger. Depending on what kind of tree and what time of year. If it is a leafy tree, deciduous, right? I think, yeah, tree, and you're in the middle of winter where there's no leaves, well, obviously that's not going to work. But around here, as you can see, all the evergreens, if it's an evergreen, doesn't matter what time of year. You just go hug that tree. And if it's a big enough tree, all those branches and pine needles and fir needles and all that stuff like that will break up the signature. They won't be able to detect thermal through it. Now, if they're coming in an angle and you're right on the edge of a tree line, of course, they can still see you. But if you're in the woods, all the other trees will block the view until they're like directly overhead pretty much, and then they're not going to see you anyway. What are some other ways? Thermal tarps. I'm going to be making one on Patreon. Speaking of Patreon, pretty soon I'm going to be coming up with a video to show people on Patreon how to make their own thermal evasion tarp. Not a thermal tarp to keep you warm, although it will work for that situation. It will work for a hammock tarp. It would work for any situation where you need a tarp, but it is also gives you the ability to evade thermal. So that's going to be a really good one. I'm looking forward to that. I think that's a very good thing that people might want to think about making themselves. You can make it very simple. It's not that expensive. You can do common materials. You can find almost all, if not all the materials at Walmart. Seriously. It's not that difficult, but we'll go over that on Patreon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love you, baby girl. So, thermal tarps you can also use. You can use any kind of structure. If you built you've seen those like bushcraft type shelters, like stack a bunch of logs and build like a tent or a teepee and then stack a bunch of earth and stuff like that. If you're sitting in there and if you don't have any heat source in there and if you're not in there long enough or have enough people in there where the body heat starts to warm up the structure itself, then you'll evade thermal. It's all about body heat. I've seen people talk about thermal ponchos. And here's why they don't work.
Yeah.
Thermal ponchos will work for a very short period of time, but your body heat will still leach into them because it's touching your body. You can't have it touching your body. But if you have a thermal tarp that is made in a specific way that we're going to show on Patreon, and then you put it several feet above your head, if you're laying down, you can put it shorter. If you're sitting, whatever. Whatever height is working for you and big enough to cover the area. Or you can make like a teepee and wrap your thermal tarp around the teepee. Whatever. You can use it in a variety of situations. What you can do, don't interrupt. Remember, raise your hand. Thank you. You could, one easy way also, it gives you ballistic protection and thermal protection, is dig a foxhole. And if you dig it deep enough where you lay down in it and you can sleep, just lay that over the top of it. Throw some, bushes on top, some like natural vegetation on top, and bam, you're camouflaged from visual sight. You are thermally protected and you're ballistically protected because you're down in the ground. Good thing. Evading drones, though, that are staying away from where they are is another thing. Or what you can do is if you are trying to evade drones in an urban environment and you are either by yourself or even in a group, what can you do? Find a heat source that's hotter than you and get under it, close enough to it, whatever, where it washes it out. And this is just talking about thermal, though. So if there is a vehicle parked on the side of the road that somebody just parked, so the engine's nice and hot, crawl into the vehicle. Crawl into the vehicle where the engine compartment is. They won't detect you on thermal because all they'll see is a hot engine. Yes, baby girl.
How would you do that?
How would you do that? Well, you just crawl under a car. If it's a small car and it's really low to the ground, you might not be able to do that. But it is an option.
What about like our car?
Our car, you could do it. Don't interrupt now, baby, please. Remember, raise your hand if you want to talk, and I'll call on you if I can, or if I'm in the situation in the video to talk to. Okay. Also, in an urban environment, you got storm drains. You can go down in the storm drains. You can go inside a building, and that's for thermal or visual. There's a lot of different things like that. You can use of micro terrain. If they're over there at that angle and I'm hiding behind this raised bed over here you can't see because it's dark, then obviously the angle they're not going to see. Same with evading helicopters, any kind of planes, any kind of aerial surveillance. So these are the kind of things. For non-thermal situations, say full daylight, summertime, they're not going to be running thermal because everything's hot. So
Yeah.
a good ghillie suit, an assaulter's ghillie, anything like that. Or just earth tone clothing using natural vegetation to supplement it. Or bury yourself under a pile of leaves. Or anything that you can do like that. And one thing is the human eye catches the human shape. And movement is key. If you just stay still, and if you're camouflaged, they may still see you, because there's also drones, especially for military applications and or higher end applications. There is software out there that will, they have automatic target identification systems on them, and they will automatically detect a human shape, whether you're moving or not. So if it's a high end or a military drone, the odds are you're going to have to break up your shape somehow, go under a pile of leaves, something to disguise the humanoid shape. There's also different ultraviolet, infrared, night vision, white light. There's a lot of different visible or spectrums of light that drones and other aerial vehicles can use against you. Did you have a question, baby girl?
Well, of course a drone would fly by, like, in that area. I mean, we live in the country, but that's the city.
Yes. That is a good point, though. I don't know if you heard what she said, but she said, of course there would be drones there because it's a more of an urban setting than we are in. And that's true. Urban setting, you're going to see it a lot more. If you live urban, you may be used to seeing drones, whereas I'm not. We never see drones where I'm at.
We don't.
Which is a good thing for me. I don't like the fact of having to guess and figure out, oh, is that a threat drone or is it not a threat drone? And right now, I don't perceive it as a threat drone automatically. Now, if Situation D evolves into the situation where I might identify a drone automatically as a threat, right now we're not in that. That's part of intelligence. That's a part of knowing what's going on around you. That's knowing what situation you're in and being a good judge of what you need to do and how you need to react in different situations. Okay, baby girl, one last time.
So, well, that drone, maybe just a kid flying a drone.
Good point. All right, thank you. No more interruptions, please.
Yes, Dad.
All right, let me finish the video. Could just be a kid flying a drone. Yes, that's probably what it was. Anyway, there are ways to evade thermal and or just white, normal visual spectrum. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I've gone a lot more in depth on that topic in Patreon. But if you're interested in seeing the thermal tarp video, join Patreon. It's $1 a month. Come on, seriously. That will be coming out soon. It's not urgent. It's not today. It's not tomorrow. It's not going to be the next day. But it may be, next week or something like that. I don't know. But it's an important topic I think we need to talk about because it may become a threat, more of a threat someday. If we're dealing in a foreign invasion situation, could be part of that also. It could be a foreign government. It could be our government. It could be private military contractors running it. It could be a well-equipped group that is doing reconnaissance themselves. Speaking of that, the use of drones can be a very, very good source of intelligence gathering. Having drones as a prepper or a prepper group will be very advantageous. Reconnaissance drones, so you can send them out to see what's going on, where the threats are. Are there any threats coming down the road? Or if you're bugging out, what's over that next hill? Well, instead of going there and finding out and maybe putting yourself in a dangerous situation, fly the drone over there. You may see a threat. The drone may get shot down. Then you know there's a threat. Probably don't go that way, right? Yes. Drones can be very, very useful. Yes, there's some situations that, I've worked with wealthier people to set up security plans using drones in a constant rotation, auto-deploying drones with this software on board where There's always at least, depending on the situation, always at least a drone in the air doing randomized search patterns over their property. And then you can set it up where, well, drones have a limited lifespan, right? I mean, as far as flight time. So whenever one's getting near its end of flight time, then another one automatically deploys and goes up and doing random search pattern. That one comes back to home base, recharges, and you can do that over and over and over. You can be multiple drones, single drones. I mean, up in the air at one time. I mean, they're very good. I mean, it's something. Yeah, I'd highly recommend having in your preps, and not just having in your preps, but of course, getting out and using them, knowing how to use them properly, how to identify things. A lot of people aren't used to seeing and identifying stuff, what's around them. What is that? What does it look like from the air? Do you know what whatever it is you're looking at looks like from the air? You're used to looking at it from this angle. Maybe a little bit down, downhill, driving down a hill or something like that. But you're not used to knowing what it looks like from above. And also, you can use them to get to know your area better. Fly them around, explore, see what they look like, what people's property looks like. Also, you can find out who has gardens, who has pools, source of water, where streams are, where lakes are, where ponds are, who has gardens, who has chickens, who has what. Good source of intel. Maybe you can find another prepper. Just saying. Predominantly, I'm talking about the evasion of, or the defense of, and shooting them down. It may come to a point where you need to do that. How are you going to do that? Well, you can use a primary long arm.
Get a gun.
Of almost any kind. Would a shotgun work? It depends. Depends on how close they are. Depends on how high it is. It depends on how fast it's moving. What system you could employ.
Yes.
So it depends. But yes, you can do that if you needed to in the proper situation. But be smart about it. Don't just go around shooting down drones. You could end up in a world of hurt. Yeah, your freedom would definitely be taken from you if you shot the wrong one down at the wrong time. And we don't want that. We want you guys remaining free. We want you to be empowered, uplifted, and able to do the things. So I hope you guys liked the video. Like I said, look for the thermal tarp video on Patreon. Join us there. If you just want to stay here, please subscribe, hit the like button, comment below, share the videos, ring the notification bell for all. And if you have a problem seeing my videos, go to my page, video tab. They're all there. All my videos. I love you guys, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that you guys are out there doing things, and I hope that you are unafraid. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day, and blessings to you and yours.